Hey guys, welcome back. And this morning we are in the kitchen making another breakfast staple, biscuits. Something that completes every Saturday or Sunday morning breakfast. Or a lot of dinners also. So sit back, hit that subscribe button, and enjoy the video. Alright guys, on the counter this morning we have 250 grams of AP flour here. If you don't have a kitchen scale, you can either pick one of those up for about $10 off Amazon or whatever, or you can just measure out 1 3/4 cups of flour. I like to weigh it just to make sure it's not packed differently or loosely, just to make sure we have consistency. And on the small bowl here, we have a tablespoon of sugar and 1 tablespoon of baking powder. We're just going to go ahead and put those right into the flour here and mix them together. And this is going to make up our flour mixture that we're going to add the butter and milk into. And if you notice, you don't see those because I actually have in the freezer right now the butter already weighed out, getting cold. That way we can put it right into here, and we have the milk already measured out in the refrigerator. So we're going to mix this together and we're going to go grab the cold stuff. Now we're going to go ahead and add in the butter. We have 85 grams of butter, and what I've done is I've just box grated it here into this bowl and then frozen it so that it gets nice and cold. And we want to keep the butter and milk as cold as possible. We want to keep the dough cold actually, because we don't want any of it to melt and go into the dough itself. If we have firm butter, the firm butter goes in and creates layers in the biscuit. You can crumble the butter all the way in if you want and just kind of get that cornmeal-y texture with your flour if you don't want layers in your biscuits. But personally, I like them quite a bit. So what we're going to do is we're just going to fold and toss it around and then crumble it together. Just a little bit though. We're not trying to make it all disappear. We just want to get it in there quite good. No big clumps of butter. But we don't want to make the butter completely disappear either. Now that the butter's worked in, I'm going to go ahead and add in about 3/4 cups of whole milk. So now's where it starts to come together and actually look like dough. So you can see it's going to be a little bit dry. You don't want it to be super wet, but you need to work the larger clumps together so that you don't have any excess flour hanging out in the bowl, and it's going to just make it all come together here. Okay, as you can see, I'm using the dough to pick up any of the excess flour that's left behind and bringing it all together as one. Once it's all incorporated, I like to just take the dough and fold it into itself and press it back down. Kind of like you're kneading it like you would regular bread dough. So you can see the dough is starting to become one mass. The flour particles are starting to go away, and the wet particles are starting to go away. We're starting to receive one texture. I think that's good. We don't want to work the dough too much, and we don't want to get it too warm, because as we mentioned, we want the butter to stay intact. So now that the dough's done, what we're going to do is I kept the extra flour that I had left over on the side here. And what that's going to allow us to do is we're going to take a handful and just throw it down on the counter. You don't have to get super messy with it. You don't have to go crazy. You can always add more if you need it later. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this and press it down and then turn it over so that I've got flour on both sides here. And I'm pressing it down. And I'm going to form it into a rectangle about 1 inch thick. It doesn't have to be a perfect rectangle, but the closer that you get, the more evenly your biscuits are going to cook. Okay, so this looks pretty good. What I'm doing now is I'm just going to rub off any of the excess flour that's hanging out, because we don't want flour necessarily. The flour just keeps the dough moving and keeps it from sticking to everything. So now we have this. And what we're going to do, just take one of your junky knives. That's what we're going to do. And we're just going to cut them right here on the counter. Just like that. They don't have to be perfect. If you want them to be perfect, then that's great. Go for it. But we're not worried about it. And so we've got these big, nice biscuits. And we're going to put them right onto a slightly oiled sheet tray here. We're going to go into our preheated oven that's at 425 degrees, and we're going to check them out here in a few minutes. Alright guys, it's been 12 minutes in the oven at 425. And so now that we've came out, what I'm going to do here is, this is an optional step, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to brush them with a little bit of butter. I'm going to add just a touch of salt to the top of them too. That way you get that like slight bit of salty goodness whenever you take your first bite. And we're going to go back into the oven, still at 425. So after about 10 more minutes in the oven, we're going to pull them out now. As you can see, we've got nice and golden brown on top. And if we break one apart, we notice that it's got nice color all the way throughout it. You can see the layers all the way down through there. You can actually see the layers where the biscuit has grown and separated and leavened out. It's pretty hot right now, but if we take it and break it apart, you can see the layers in there and the true layers of the biscuit and how flaky it really is.
That wraps us up for the day, so thank you very much for watching, and comment below and let me know what you put on your biscuits.